Hello and welcome to my channel, Lifestyle and Fashion Tea. Well, this is Kelly Bryant. I am bringing you an update on the woman who left her children in the home in Pontiac, Michigan. Do not forget this face, because I'm going to stay on her case. Kelly Bryant. Child, she has social media pages. She was even doing a food giveaway. What the world? Take a listen on what's going on
In a
now.
real-life nightmare.
The charges are 3 counts of child abuse in the first degree.
The Oakland County prosecutor charges a mother in what she says is the worst neglect case she has ever seen.
And this is the mother right here. She's 34-year-old Kelly Bryant, accused of abandoning her children for years.
And Bryant is expected to be arraigned in court tomorrow. Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. That comes after Oakland County prosecutor Karen McDonald revealed new information in the case. So let's get right out to Will Jones. He's live in Pontiac with more. Will.
Kimberly and Ty, Kelly Bryant, I should say, is facing the most serious charge for child abuse, first-degree child abuse. We can learn more about this case in court tomorrow for the arraignment, but investigators say the kids who lived at that house lived in fear of their mother. They had been cut off from the outside world for years.
We say a lot, this is the worst I've ever seen. And I've stopped saying that because every time I say that, I see something worse.
Kelly Bryant is facing child abuse charges, accused of leaving 3 of her kids to basically fend for themselves at a home in Pontiac.
Police were astonished to find anyone in the location because it appeared to be uninhabitable, with piles of garbage and refuse several feet high, including large amounts of human excrement.
At the home, police say they found a 15-year-old boy and 2 girls, ages 12 and 13.
At the hospital, the children struggled with completing basic hygiene tasks like flushing a toilet and brushing their teeth because they had not done it in years. The children were forensically interviewed and described having virtually no physical contact with their mother, suspect Bryant, or the outside world in several years.
Oakland County prosecutor Karen McDonald says Bryant moved out of the home around 2020 or 2021, leaving 3 children at the location. When the food supply ran low, McDonald says the son would text Bryant and food would be delivered. Police say they were called to the home on Valentine's Day for a welfare check because of missed rent payments.
Morally, there is plenty of responsibility to go around for how this was allowed to happen. However, these 3 kids were entrusted to the care of their mother, Kelly Bryant, and the evidence suggests that she effectively abandoned them to a revolting pit of refuse and squalor. There must be consequences for those actions.
McDonald says the 3 children are staying with family right now. Coming up at 6, we're going to learn more about what those kids experience inside this home and how they are doing tonight. We are live here in Pontiac. Will Jones, Local 4.
Okay, Will, thank you.
Did for years in Pontiac. They were living inside this home among piles of garbage and human waste. Investigators say their mother had cut them off from the outside world, essentially. Will Jones is following this case tonight. He's live in Pontiac with the very latest. Will.
Ty, it is such a sad story. Police say those kids lived at that house here in Pontiac for years, all by themselves. Police say their mother, Kelly Bryant, left them there. Her son only left the house twice in the last several years to check the mailbox. The girls never left the home. Investigators say the mother told the kids not to leave the house.
What stands out the most for me is no love. There was nobody there to care for them for between 3 and 4 years. No parent, nobody physically present to let them know that they were safe and they were loved.
Their years-long nightmare at this home in Pontiac ended last week on Valentine's Day. While conducting a welfare check for missed rent payments, police discovered a 15-year-old boy and his 2 sisters, ages 12 and 13, living in filth with no parental supervision.
The children were afraid to come out of their hiding places and to speak with the police. Police had to repeatedly advise the children that they were there to help and they were safe. The children's bodies and clothing were covered in feces, and the girls had difficulty physically walking outside of the residence.
Oakland County prosecutor Karen McDonald says Kelly Bryant moved out of the home several years ago, leaving the kids to basically fend for themselves only having food dropped off occasionally.
The defendant took the active steps of lying and concealing to make sure the children went undiscovered, and she took these actions knowing that her children would suffer serious physical and emotional harm as a result.
The children shared with investigators about what they experienced and why they did not seek out help.
All three children expressed fear about what their mother's response would be if they left the home.
The three kids are staying with family right now. Brian does have another child who lives with their father. Brian is scheduled to be in court tomorrow for an arraignment, so we are likely to learn more details then. So many questions remain about this case. We are live in Pontiac. Will Jones.
We're also joined by detectives who've been involved in the case from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. That's Lieutenant Sam Marsban and Detective John Brish. Prosecutor McDonald will announce the charging decision today and take your questions. But before she does that, I want to remind everyone that charges are only allegations and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Also, the details in the prosecutor's remarks today come from the swear to in 50th District Court earlier today. Prosecutor McDonald.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First, I'd like to announce that we have authorized 3 charges of first-degree child abuse against Kelly Bryant, a 34-year-old resident of Pontiac. My office has already advised the court in the neglect proceedings that we will be asking to terminate the defendant's parental rights. In every case of child abuse, my office focuses first and foremost on the best interest of the child or children and on holding those responsible for abuse accountable. The three children in this case suffered unimaginable abuse and neglect over a long period of time. Thankfully, they've now been rescued from that, and our first priority has been and will continue to be their safety and well-being. I want to briefly address, though, why we're here. Since the first announcement over the weekend by the sheriff, this case has captured the attention of the people across our community, our county, our state, and even internationally, because people are rightfully concerned about the welfare of these children. And we're holding this press conference because, like all other decisions, we balance the interests of public safety, media attention and inquiries, and balancing everyone's right to a fair trial, which is why the events and facts that are disclosed here today are strictly confined to what's already been placed on the record in the swear to this morning in the 50th District Court. When their circumstances became public, including the photos of the home, although law enforcement did not identify the defendant, she was quickly identified on social media and also has been reported in other news media outlets, which is why we are naming her today. We have recently, luckily, been fortunate enough to, for the first time ever, hire our public information officer, Jeff Watrick, who's in the back of the room. Many of you have already spoken to and will continue to, and we're lucky to have him. The children are currently staying with a relative. All 3 children received immediate medical attention at a local hospital, and they were interviewed by trained forensic interviewers at Care House. Considering what they've experienced, they appear to be doing okay. Obviously, the trauma here is significant, and my office, including our victim services section, will make sure these children are supported during this process. Today, the charges are 3 counts of child abuse in the first degree. This is the most serious charge for child abuse, and if convicted, Ms. Bryant could face a sentence of up to life in prison. In the swear-to this morning, on the record, it was stated that in 2019, suspect Kelly Bryant was living at the home, which I'm not disclosing the address at this time, in Pontiac, Michigan, with her 4 children. At some point between 20 and 2021, the suspect moved out of her home, leaving 3 of her children abandoned in that location, while 1 of her children went to live with their father. On February 14th, 2025, police were called to the home by the landlord. Police learned that the landlord was concerned for the welfare of Ms. Bryant, who had not paid rent on the property since October of 2024. Police entered with the landlord and discovered her 3 children, ages 12, 13, and 15. Her daughters were hiding in a bathroom that was filled with feces, piles of trash, and completely non-functional, while her son was hiding in another room. Police were astonished to find anyone in the location because it appeared to be uninhabitable, with piles of garbage and refuse several feet high, including large amounts of human excrement. The children were afraid to come out of their hiding places and to speak with the police. Police had to repeatedly advise the children that they were there to help and they were safe. The children's bodies and clothing were covered in feces, and the girls had difficulty physically walking outside of the residence. In addition to the physical difficulty, they appeared to be and were immediately overstimulated upon leaving the residence. All 3 children were transported via ambulance to the hospital and showed signs of severe neglect. At the hospital, the children struggled with completing basic hygiene tasks like flushing a toilet and brushing their teeth because they had not done it in years. The children were forensically interviewed and described having virtually no physical contact with their mother, suspect Bryant, or the outside world in several years. The girls had not left the residence in several years, and her son had only left the home to go into the yard approximately 2 times, never venturing away from the house more than to check the mailbox. During his interview, her son stated that he would text their mother when their food supply was running low and she would have food delivered to the residence. The children shared that during the years they were concealed in the home, suspect Bryant failed to provide toilet paper, soap, or shampoo. The defendant instructed the kids that they were not to answer the door or leave the house. All 3 children expressed fear about what their mother's response would be if they left the home. Defendant concealed the children from family and friends and lied about who was caring for the kids and their whereabouts. The defendant took the active steps of lying and concealing to make sure the children went undiscovered, and she took these actions knowing that her children would suffer serious physical and emotional harm as a result. Those are the statements made in the swear-to this morning. And again, these are allegations. I do want to point out and thank all the officers that were on scene that day. I personally viewed the videos and images and was struck at what a difficult situation it was, but in the face of that difficulty, offered compassion to these kids. I also want to thank Detective John Brish and Lieutenant Sam Marsban for their dedication in working this case, and of course the assistant prosecutors involved, Chief of Administration Betsy Haig, Chief of our SVU Sarah Green, APA Lauren Benninger, Chief of the Juvenile Division Kelly Collins, and APA Kanika Ferenczi for their diligent efforts in this case. At present, we've not been presented with a request for criminal charges against any other individuals. That does not mean that won't happen in the future. I just can't speak to it at this point. Morally, there is plenty of responsibility to go around for how this was allowed to happen. However, these 3 kids were entrusted to the care of their mother, Kelly Bryant, and the evidence suggests that she effectively abandoned them to a revolting pit of refuse and squalor. There must be consequences for those actions. The defendant is presently in custody. The 3 children in this case were interviewed at Care House, and I want to emphasize how important Care House is to this community. These kids were interviewed in a safe environment by an experienced, trained forensic interviewer, and these interviews are important in all child abuse cases. They allow each child the chance to tell us their story without the influence of the abuser and without using leading questions that could taint their testimony. I can't emphasize enough how important Care House is. If you suspect a child is abused or neglected, you too can report this to CPS. The hotline is 855-444-3911. And I urge anyone who suspects that a child is being abused or neglected to report that using that number. We need to make sure that every child is safe and well cared for. And before I take questions, I just want to remind you that these charges, again, are only allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Questions?
I'll put it up here again. Kelly Bryant. Disgusting. Disgusting. Oh my goodness. Kids with feces on them. She dropping off food, but yet you doing a food giveaway. Toilet's not working. Insane. Insane. They hiding in nasty bathrooms. They have not been outside, locked out. Okay, I'm going to continue this tomorrow because she has an arraignment. So like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.